A journey into the underground with Adam X. Sonic Room Podcast. Hi, I'm Adam X, and on today's episode, I've been granted a rare opportunity to sit down for a chat with one of the most important figureheads in the history of techno music, the one and only legendary Mike Banks of the Underground Resistance. It's a must-listen discussion for anyone who loves techno and values its integrity against commercial influences. Long live the resistance. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you.
This is amazing that you're doing this because I know that you don't do this for other people too often. It's very rare.
Yeah.
Very rare occasion. Me and Mike go back to 1991. Yeah. We met back in the days of the New Music Seminar when he worked with Jeff Mills, his Underground Resistance, when they were the duo. And it's, we know each other a really long time, man. I remember when you guys were sending me records in the mail, the Groove Records in Brooklyn.
That's right.
When the scheme was just coming up.
Avenue U, 64.
And then it was that New Music Seminar in 1991 where we were all there fighting against the majors. Yeah. Remember, they were all like trying to push this rave techno, all the major labels, and like, fuck out of here.
Right.
Remember this on the panels? Like, it was pretty wild that year at the New Music Seminar. New Music Seminar was sort of like this big conference in New York back in the early 90s. And techno people from all over the world came there to meet. This is before the internet, really, like before mainstream internet. Mm-hmm. And this is how techno artists met. And this is how we all met back in the day through there. Everybody from Germany that was coming over, Britain, blah, blah, blah. And man, it's Mike. Thank you again for coming on.
Yeah.
And let me ask you a little bit about, let's go back into time. You know, you've been making music for a very long time now, way before Underground Resistance and playing in bands and stuff and doing like stuff in studios for people.
Yeah.
When did you get your first synth?
And what was it? My first synth was one of them Radio Shack put together. There's a mold. It was a put together Radio Shack you buy. I forget what the name of them is, but you buy them and you weld it all together yourself. And it was a mold. It was some type of mold, two voice synth, and we just used it for our band. We was trying to, do some funkadelic, with the bass lines Bernie was doing and stuff like that. But even before that, when I got the mold, we was trying to do a guy that I really respect. And we before Red Bull ended, Edgar Winter, Frankenstein. And we was trying to make the sound that he made. We didn't know he had an ARC 2600, and we wasn't going to hardly make that sound, but we got us a little mold and tried to do it. And then later, as we just always kept it around, and I don't know where that damn thing is, but it was my first synth, So it was good because I built it. You got to solder it together.
And what was the inspiration? What were you listening to back in the day that you were like, I want to get something that's more synthetic sounding and space sounding? Were you listening to like space rock stuff, like progressive rock, like, Yes and M.
The one that hit in the hood was Frankenstein, and then Numbers, and you would hear synths like on Stevie Wonder stuff, and those synth lines. We just, anything that came over the radio, like we was discussing before, Detroit, I say this a lot of times when we do the tours to people. Detroit was, it was economically in bad shape, but culturally, man, the radio was free. It was wide open radio. So, we was listening to a really wide array of music, super wide. So, like I said, Edgar Winter, Kraftwerk, Sun Ra, Funkadelic.
We had the same thing going on in New York at the same time. It's a lot of like, they'd be playing the B-52s with some electro stuff with, and the music was...
B-52s, It was weird, man.
I mean, this is why the 80s was really good, even with pop. Like, I mean, music that wasn't really pop was pop, right?
Yeah.
Like Depeche Mode and stuff like this,
We
right?
had,
and
David Bowie from Fame, and Bowie was coming, and Suffragette City, all that shit, and B-52's Week.
Blondie, Rapture, all that stuff.
All that, man. It was all on the radio, and I felt that the radio was really, in those days, free. They was playing what the community not only needed to hear, but wanted to hear. You know, Sylvester, 2 Tons of Fun and all that. You know, it was really a wide variance of music. Jay Giles Band, you know, Flamethrower, all that type of dance music. That was all dance music in Detroit. And Jay Giles Band was weird. It was all white band, and it just looked like regular rock band, but DJs was playing the stuff. So we had a really wide palette of influence, I would say. I feel blessed, really, that the DJs, you know, Mojo, Tiger Dan, I can't think of all of them, but I think the freedom that they had to spend what the community needed, not so much what corporate entities that were later to come.
Yeah, when do you think the change in radio happened, where there was this more corporate and just pushing stuff that's just because people paying off to get the records on the radio? And I mean, I guess paywall was kind of always there a little bit.
Always,
right?
but especially we had it good all the way up to, I would say, 92. Jeff, who was at the time a real radio celebrity around Detroit, he was known as the Wizard at that time. And me and Jeff was friends from doing sessions and studios and stuff. And Jeff came in one day and said, yo, man, they just told me don't play nothing from like the New York social political hip hop type of thing. They was like, get rid of Public Enemy, get rid of Gangstar, Paris, my man in San Francisco, EPMD, anything like on a real positive pro-black tip, get rid of that. And, you know, Jeff was like, fuck that, I'm gonna keep playing this shit. And they would shorten the show. But it was disturbing because as the radio got more narrow in content and more the you know, the gangster type of, you know, Detroit, we was kind of over with the gang stuff, man. We had been there, done that. And they ushered that shit right back in. But this time it was fueled by crack. And so we had drug gangs, and the city went completely ass backwards again. The music had us going forward. And I mean it. I mean, you know, I always talk about Curtis Mantronic. If Curtis, if you out there, brother, you need to holler at me, man. This dude was huge influence. No, Sarah, take me to the movies at Summertime. I think that was name. I'm not a DJ, so I only know the hooks and shit. But, you know, the shit was fun, man. And it was exciting, and a lot of people were together. I mean, I remember the B-52s when Rock Lobster went down. Whole lot of gang members looked real stupid doing the Rock Lobster. And they was like, yo, man, this shit is fat. Fuck that. The women like it. I like it. Rock Lobster was knocking. People was more up and more happy, man. And then 92 came. All that stuff got erased. All our great DJs got kind of moved to the side, belittled with small amount of times. And eventually they was gone. And our radio to this day is corporate radio. You know, you lose the, this city likes this, that city likes this. And you get these regional directors. You know, I heard 2 guys decide what the whole Midwest is. 2 people, as opposed to Chicago like this, Flint likes this, New York likes this, East Orange likes that. All that's gone. That individual pockets of what people like. like Detroit was really progressing out when all that stuff from Europe and then that Chicago house music was blending. And now you got that upscale crowd housing it up, getting down, no violence. The shit was really good. And me and Jeff sat and watched the whole disintegration of that shit while tons and tons and tons of cracky shit was piling in and guns from Uzi. You could listen to the rap records. My Uzi weighs a ton. How the fuck do a Uzi get in Detroit? A brand new Uzi, So, we watched the erosion of something that our DJs had built up, even though the city was economically hit because of the auto industry. But the spirit was still up. It was still positive and it was still progressive. They usher in this corporate radio shit and it seemed like somebody just snatched the soul out of the city. And it really damaged us hard. I don't even know if we just now recovering a little bit. And I think we recovered because the Electronic Music Festival and the influx of people that came in from all over the world and people in Detroit seeing this, like, what the fuck is going on? Yo, man, this electronic techno music is some really great stuff. We knew that earlier. We was listening to techno and making techno way back in the day, but it really got from 92 on, man, they just killed it. And it's, the radio is still on lock. It's still like that. But with the music festivals that they have, Techtroit, the DEMF, we get this influx of people from around the world. So, yeah, the city benefits again culturally.
So do you think that this situation is why there were less black artists making techno like in the late 90s, early 2000s, even up until now, comparative to the early 90s when there was such a hotbed of artists coming out of here?
Well, yeah, I mean, it definitely affect how many people was participating. Like, a lot of people rolled into hip hop, and then a lot of guys was doing gangster rap and all this type of stuff. And they got, I would say probably a lot of our producers did go that way. But the work that we do here at Submerge, and by having the heads up from Jeff, we knew we needed to create more producers. And that's why we took in Robert Hood. Rob was a hell of a kid, man, he was into hip hop at first. But Rob,
he was the MC, Rob.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, but he got consciousness. Rob got God with him, so Rob knew, hey man, I can't be telling people to. So he got off into the electronic, and then James Stinson, James came in, him and Gerald Dono and the whole Drexia thing, and we saw the talent in these guys. Gary Martin, Technotica.
Yeah, he made some great
with
stuff.
With the Tiki thing.
So was techno being played on the radio a bit out here in the early 90s? A bit more than it was in, let's say, the mid-90s till...
Early 90s, it was New York, Chicago, Baltimore, and Detroit, and that, Philly, whatever. It was East Coast, West, and Midwest on the radio, period. That wasn't if it was any West Coast, it was Egyptian Lover and, the West Coast electro. And that shit was banging. People loved it. But it was all hood music. It wasn't a lot of major labels running shit in the dance music scene.
I remember when I first came out here, the JIT was the big record.
Yeah, JIT.
That was like 94.
Yeah.
JIT. Yeah.
We produced a couple of them, Timeline and X Square. A lot of people don't know X Square, but those was big local records. And yeah, man, I think the radio wasn't so much on lock. It was more free. Guys, the DJs could kind of play what they wanted to play. And once it locked down, man, it's almost at the point of ignorance. in some situation. To me, it was offensive.
So let's go back to like late 80s, and then you met Jeff because he was doing Final Cut and you were doing session stuff with him, right?
We was doing sessions at United Sound under Don Davis, who was one of my favorite mentors. Don Davis, and in turn, we meet George Clinton, and Mr. Clinton would sometimes step in and be like, "Y'all motherfucker, do this, do that, and this is how you do bass, and this is how you EQ this," and then he go do whatever. He always said, "Play it like you mean it," stuff like that. Don't be shy when you play it like you mean it. And we met Clippedelic, Randy Jacobs, my cousin, all these professional musicians, and they had no fear. That's what I did learn. They had no fear, and they played that shit like they meant it. And that's what got to stay on the track. If your shit was lightweight, you ain't stay on the track. Staying on the track was the whole name game. Amp Fiddler, my main man, Amp, who recently passed away. Huge influence on me. Because I'm a guitar player by trade, but I would play keyboards if I have to. And Amp would always teach us less is more. Less, just play what's needed, and it was some great lessons at United Sound. That's where, we encountered Jeff. And Jeff, we had the SP1200. And Jeff was producing a really cool group called the Cool Supremes. And they was doing some really it was Donna Black and the Cool Supremes. I remember that. Smiley. That shit. Jeff was making some hip hop. He was one of the assault DJs for Public Enemy.
Oh no, I didn't know.
Oh yeah, he's on the back of the record. Yep. Jeff was doing some hell of a productions. We had a SP1200. He had a 909 or something, and we would combine and do sessions with him.
And so where did the concept of Underground Resistance come, and how did you guys sit down and figure out, like, we're going to make some music together?
Well, he was talking about, I learned about what was happening on the radio from Jeff.
Okay.
And they were really fucking with Jeff. They was trying to limit his time. They was trying to tell him what to play. Jeff don't like that shit.
Was he playing on a major radio?
Oh, yeah.
So it was major, like, not like...
Jeff was the heat. Jeff was just like he the heat now DJing. He was the heat on the radio. Everybody's waiting for the Wizard show. Everybody loved the way he produced it. It had millions of cuts in it, stops, breaks. The shit was exciting. He was like...
Was it a once-a-week show, or was it a couple times a week?
I'm pretty sure it was on the weekends, the Wizard show. But at some point, he was like every night, kind of like Mojo. He was kind of like right in there with Mojo, as far as legendary shit. Him, Kim James.
A lot of people also don't know, like, about the whole, car culture thing and the sound systems. Like, growing up in Brooklyn, you had the mixtape culture, radio show culture.
Yeah.
People playing the music. So when Jeff on Jefferson used to be, I remember when I came here, all the cars souped up, coming back and forth.
Yeah.
Was Jeff's stuff being played, like everybody jamming out, and it was like the thing coming out of all the car systems.
Yeah. Everybody would turn on the Wizard, just like they would turn on Mojo. Or like I said, Kim James, Tyrone Bradley, Dwayne in the mix. We had some radio celebs, man. And, later, Gary Chandler, Fingers, they still do their thing. But when he got them restrictions, man, and by us working at a studio that my drummer, Raphael Merriweathers, Ray played on Oleta Adams' gospel record with Thomas Whitfield, and Ray got a Grammy Award. I mean, so it was some heavy sessions going on. But we was noticing in the major music industry, the church girls would come in and do all the background and even lay like a dummy lead. And then they would bring in, Miss Beautiful and shit. I guess it would be like And then she would try to mimic what was on the tape. So I was learning how full of shit the major label industry was. They was basically like selling lies. I said it in that Roland interview. The singers it's kind of like what I guess what was happening with the techno now with the people, beautiful people being DJs and all this type of stuff, and
it's
regular guys like everybody else.
It's not. It seems to be a lot about looks, and you know, it's the majors have kind of taken over in a way, right? It's the majors being the corporations and the big festivals and the big booking agency companies that dominate. And you know, there's a lot of these bigger artists I think are like invested like in stock ships. They came out of nowhere with no music background, and they just appear on the scene, and next thing you know, they're playing in front of 20,000 people based on what's the music talent. You know, it's just a stage performance, if anything, and looks and imagery.
You know what, Adam? I want
gotta have to fight this with underground resistance.
I'm gonna tell everybody. I'm gonna look dead in the camera and tell all y'all. I'm older now, and we've seen this before, y'all. This beautiful shit, giant raves. People selling drugs at the raves, you know, drug dealers sponsoring the rave. They try and try and try to keep getting control of this music. And so they can monetize it. EDM, all this shit. Don't worry, y'all. It's people making equipment for us every day to keep that shit strange, fucked up, and underground. And all you got to do is listen for it. If you buy the potato, then you got to eat the lunch. But if you listen and you can hear some real shit, you know what's real and you know what ain't. It's up to you to be boo-boo the fool and bite into that shit.
So we were talking earlier about like the competitive vibes of young men.
Yeah.
There was some women around back in the day.
But Kelly and
just the competitive vibes of making music, but the friendly competitive vibes. I feel like it kind of sometimes is missing in this day and age. The art of the battle, right? You know, DJs and
really. You know, you are in +8. We would go at it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, we used to love that. We were sitting on the sidelines in New York. Oh shit, no, and not only with the music, but just doing things on the records, like. You know, like Kevin came out with the Fragile record, the way he did the reverse grooves, you know, like because you guys were doing the breaks in the records that Ron was doing. He was trying to get Ron to do something different.
Than everybody
reverse one, you know.
Yep, it was a lot of that. That was fun as hell. That was real fun, and
but it was amazing because the records, you know, I loved what, you know, +8 was doing. You guys, it was just a really amazing time period of the music. It was so fresh and new, and everybody was always trying to innovate.
That's right.
And the styles would change. You remember they were just changing quickly, man. You know, within 6 months, it was on to the next thing.
Yep.
You know, nowadays it's the styles that go on for years before they change up again.
It's kind of safe, but you know, we always try to innovate at UR. We always try to lead and think about what could be. You know, now Jeff taught us that, you know, always look to the future and look to the past for advice and always look to the future for what's possible. And so we even teach that here now with the new people coming out. We got some real, I think we got some killers in the camp. My man O'Shea, Huey Mnemonic, that's what he called himself, but Huey and Max Watts, young Dion up there, Black Music. It's a bunch of them. My girl Salem and Caitlin and all them. Some ladies coming with it. So I'm thinking it's promising future for Detroit. I like to think that Submerged building got a lot to do with that, developing people and developing the talent. The UMA school that we built down there, and Wajid and M&M and Terrell and all them, they doing a great job. We just had Ricky Tainez down there and teaching about, you know, Novation equipment. King Britt been there. People from Erica Sims been there. And this has never happened in Detroit before, where, you know, product manufacturers, we do a lot of work with Roland, Japan, via Matt. You know, Matt is our guy, and Teenage Engineering is up in here. So it's kind of fun, you know, because I don't see how people can talk about the future and future music and all that shit, and they don't do. You gotta bring up somebody else. That was the whole hookup with Rob. We had did pretty good. We was like, we need to pull somebody else in. And then the next wave was Rob and Drexia and Rolando and wherever Rolando at. He's great. One of the greatest DJs I knew. Great dude. Obviously Drexia, that shit is crazy now.
It's crazy. I mean, it's just like it's on almost a Kraftwerkian level.
Yeah.
Nuts for that. It's wow.
I just wish James could have lived to see it, because James was a good dude. I know Clone and Surge and them is carrying on with it, and James' wife and all that, trying to keep it going.
I mean, the influence those guys have had on electro music, you hear it in so many records.
Yeah.
It's like people really go nuts for the drugs. It sounds, it's amazing stuff. It was so much original music coming out of Detroit back in the day, right? Everybody had their own sound and their own little identity, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the music it's different these days because it's the global. It's like this globalization of techno that when you listen to techno now, you can't tell where it's from. It's like it used to be so regional back in the day.
Yeah.
It was like every city had its own thing. In New York, we have this more freestyle kind of techno. Broken beat stuff that my brother was doing, or the early Belgium stuff before like Energy Flash era.
Mundo.
And
Mundo. Where is Mundo, man? Mundo music.
Mundo, like he's apparently in Florida or something.
Damn.
He's around, like Damon's speaking to him here and there. I think he got disenchanted, man. Music industry stuff. I don't want to call people's names out or anything, but
right.
Certain people I feel caused his demise or his made not his necessarily his demise, but his disinterest in continuing his music career. And he would have been one of the dudes. He would have been up there with Apex, and Druxy. He was that dude, He made some amazing stuff. For those that don't know, we're talking about Mundo Music, and he did the famous Mentasm track with Joey Beltram. He did Revelation, Synthet Synthet Revelations. Amazing stuff.
Yeah.
If you don't know it, you should go seek out his stuff, Mundo Music. Check it out.
Right, that's right. He was a bad guy, man. I hope one day he'll come on back.
Unfortunately, a lot of these guys that made great stuff, they just fell out of the scene. I guess a lot to do with this kind of major label mentality, where they may sign a deal with somebody and then
get a bad
people are like keeping them tied up and not putting out what they want to put out. This is always a problem. They would, back to the major labels, they give you these big events.
Yeah,
and they
shelf your ass.
It's almost like you was just a tax write-off. They didn't really care if this succeeded, and then they just kept you tied up in a contract that if you wanted to go do something with someone else.
Amen to that.
And
I know that's right.
That's kind of what the underground resistance is about.
We was like, fuck
DIY.
Right. Keep it. If you press it up, put it out, and never know what's gonna happen, man. You never know. Sometimes it don't work right then. But we had a record, my man Billy Bob did it. And when we put it out, electro really wasn't kicking. Just like I still got some records I think is bad as hell. 057 Slide, Santiago Salazar, and Milton Baldwin, 064 Slide Skate. That shit is bad, but people ain't caught up with it yet. That's all, that's the way I look at it. The shit is bad. I like it. It sounded different. I ain't never heard nothing like it. We put it out. And I think it was at the height of minimal. Nobody was like, what the fuck?
Oh, yeah, that was a bad period.
Yeah, and we put that shit out, and people was like, I don't understand. But lately, people started to buy it. So, and that shit is like, I don't know, 10, 12 years old, but that's how we do. We just put out, if we feel it's a sound funky, and you think the shit might work somewhere, we bang it out. If heads didn't know, they'll jump into it, and maybe it might take 6-7 years for it to catch on or something. But
yeah, sometimes these records they come back.
Yeah, they come back.
I dumped a couple thousand records like 15, 20 years ago because they was sitting in Heather's basement and they got damned down there. And I was like, I didn't want to bother like pulling the sleeve off. And we just took them to the dump and chucked them out. And now there's like $40 records in there that we sold like 500 copies out. I'm like, shit, you know?
Yeah.
So you got to hang on to that stuff.
That's right.
The thing is that vinyl takes up a lot of space, and space is money.
It's heavy.
So,
heavy as hell.
You know, you're taking up space that you can use and utilize for something else. So it's hard. But what's your take on the vinyl thing? I'm still doing it. I'm hanging in there. It's a labor of love.
Yeah, vinyl like comic books. Don't nobody want a digital comic book. They like baseball bats. Don't nobody want an aluminum bat. They want a wood bat. You know, so some things are tradition. Samurai sword. You know, the shit is 2,000 years old. People still love them, man. You know, because if you get hit with it, your shit is gone. You know what I'm saying? It's that good. So,
I mean, you know, as a digital DJ, I you know, the vinyl is, for me, it's more of the art form. It's just there's still that analogous feeling when you put a record on a turntable at home. Yeah. As far as lugging them out to a gig,
I feel you.
You know, it gets a little hard.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it's not hard, but it's also I find that you could do more with digital DJing too, with the looping and all this stuff too. So I'm always stuck in the middle of it.
Yeah, no, it seems like it's always a good, like even some of the best synths, they always come at the end of the technology. You know, the new technology is obviously quicker, faster, more efficient. But that last part of the previous technology, it's the epitome, it's the top of what that technology was. Sometimes that shit leaks into the next generation. And I think a lot of records is like that. You know, they just kind of leak into the next generation and somebody go, you know, we missed this. We missed this. We should have pulled it up. And vinyl technology, man, it, for some, whatever reason, at 33 1/3, it's a magic number for those who know. And it's like the rhythm of life. And something magic about the grooves and how the shit sounds coming out of the grooves. Just kind of like that tape sound. You know, that tape sound was weird. Of course, it's not as efficient.
I'm never a big fan of the tapes, but the vinyl,
yeah.
The tapes drive me nuts.
Yeah, because they ride out and they fade and they fuck up.
The highs go first.
Yeah,
you know, everything sounds
shit feels off. But it was something magic about all that. And I mean, you can't put your finger on it, but somehow vinyl did survive. And I'd like to think that us and oddly Jack White, as far as the vinyl scene here in America or the main pressing plants, some of the big ones, yes, we did. We kept them afloat for a long time, 25, 30 years until the vinyl came back. And I remember when Jack White was first going, they was pressing 7 inches, you know, so 7-inch machine rarely got used. It was indie, that's indie rock's machine. But you know, them guys, they sell, 300-400 records. That's it. Jack White came and he started selling some records. And he kept selling records. And then I'd like to say that I think the major companies was paying attention to what he was doing. And when he started selling 12-inch records, and, they started making reissues of Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith and all that. And finally, after all them years, we got booted out the plant,
I know this is a big problem with the delays because all these, the major labels just fucking us again, right?
I was happy for them because all them good people that pressed all the records for us all them years finally could retire and with some peace of mind. The plant was back on fire. It was going like it used to go.
Yeah, I mean, the plants did need the money. Actually,
they did.
They were really on the
and I knew some good people, and we all struggled together. You know, they struggled because, you know, we only selling 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 tops, you know. And to sustain a plan of the size that they had, you know, back in the days when they was making millions of records, it was very difficult. So we was very happy for them. You know, Archer, that's our guy. Mike Archer, Joe Archer's son. Been pressing Detroit records for years. Everybody, if you ever come to Detroit, you got to go to the pressing plant. Andy Garcia is the guy. Mike Archer is the guy. My man Kenny's retiring this year. Kenny, you the man. Kenny pressed everybody's fucking records forever. You know, he's the man. And they got his family up there, man. And I mean, we family. I mean, we to this day, we drive up there, pick up records, load them up, shoot the shit. You know, it's real Midwest shit. All that shit blesses them records, man. You know, it's just not, it killed me when, that's why we got the pressing plant in the museum. Because it killed me when the guy said, yeah, I made this record. I'd be like, really, did you? You know, he made shit. He made the music on the record. There's a guy that pressed that record. There's a guy that plated that record. There's a guy that boxed your shit up, jacketed your shit. Fuck you mean you made the record, you know? You made the music on the record. People don't recognize workers, man, and that kind of pisses me off. That's, you know, I was a worker. I'm still a worker, shit. So kind of made me mad when people, I did this and I did that. You know, it's a big team of people that help make you whatever you is now. So people should always give your pressing plant and your platers and your mastering guys, give them the ultimate respect, because it's a big chain of people that make a vinyl record. I think, to get back to what we was talking about, that's a whole lot of spirits in that record. More than the digital. Digital is the guy that made the music, and boom, motherfuckers out there. A vinyl record, 20 spirits attached to that record.
Sure.
Yeah. So Spirit Force is a motherfucker. It's some deep, it's real shit.
So as you know, many of your records are selling for a shit ton of money on Disney.
Yeah.
We've got a new generation of techno people that buy records that can't afford this stuff.
Yeah.
It's becoming a thing for the rich. The secondhand record market is pretty wild in techno.
Don't worry.
Can we get some?
We'll fuck them up.
Probably get some represses out for some of the people. Because even me, I want them electronic bullshit. My copy's fucked. And I ain't paying $100 for that shit.
You better sell quick before
I know there's a lot of people that buy records. I'm like, yes, go out and push them.
Yeah. Sell quick, man, because we're coming back with some. And I'm very happy that, again, I love the kids, man. And like I said, they keep the shit intergenerational. If the shit works in your set, we proud to be on your turntable. That's how.
Yeah, you know, the vinyl is quieter now. A lot of the plants press much quieter records. The mastering, the way the mastering techniques are now. So I would love to hear some of the old UR stuff just redone. And you just gave me the UR013, the Final Frontier. I can't wait to listen to that.
Yeah, and a lot of the vinyl pellet, the technology is going up, you know, and
the records are a lot quieter these days.
Yeah, they are. And well, quieter. You know, and then Muggs, you know, in the 90s and the late 80s, Muggs was using a lot of regrind because they was just trying to survive.
Like tracks. You ever go there? You ever go to tracks? Yeah, I've been in there, mounting some records, the labels punched out, but somehow they were still in there. That was the most insane thing I've ever seen, actually.
Hey, man.
All this. Larry Sherman, he was a piece of work.
Oh, man. Hey, man, they was making it happen, man.
But it's, you know, it's funny because we're talking about like DIY culture and you know, like the underground, but there were a lot of sharks in the industry back in the day too that were in the underground, like Mike Sherman, right? I mean, you know, Barry Hearn just finally got all that money out of this dude's estate after all those years, you know, poor dudes from out there.
Yeah,
I think Detroit was a little bit better run, you know.
Yeah, it was
regulated.
Yeah, we had you know, a lot of people. Cliff Thomas at Metal Music up on 7 Mile. Cliff was a You know, a lot of people was, oh, Cliff did this to me and Cliff did that. Nah, Cliff ain't did nothing, man. Cliff put your shit out there and you somebody because Cliff helped you. Cliff had a thriving record shop. He just put them records out because he loved them and he loved records, you know, and people, it's always the sideline, blah, blah, blah. But like I said, man, you know, very few of these records have sold over 5,000 copies and nobody is, you know, fucking retiring off of it. So my hats is off to all those guys that was in the neighborhood, saw some talented kids, and tried to help them. Don Davis, Cliff Thomas, Mr. Gordy, Miss Gordy, Miss Esther Gordy. Miss Esther, the one told me to make the museum. And she said, sound like you boys is doing something. You better save everything you can and throw it up on the wall. Because if you don't, somebody gonna beat you to it. So we did what she told us. And Miss Esther was a good lady, man. She was a strong lady and real good people, you know. And they all come from the North End, right here in this neighborhood you at. So
what were they all thinking back in the day when you and Jeff were making all these crazy records like the, you know, the Punisher, or when you were doing Death Star, all these crazy old records?
It was just,
well, the folks out here, like the older folks must have been like your parents or whatever, family members, like, what kind of music is this shit?
Down there hailing Satan and shit, you know. We had to play some church music. My mother was like, I'm tired of that shit. Play something that makes some, you know. So we would play some church music and but no, man, they tolerated us. And, you know, kids do wild shit, man. They different. They just figuring shit out, man. So we wasn't no different. And we had a lot of fun doing it, a lot of good times. And, man, who would have imagined going around the world for some shit out of your basement, man?
Yeah, where were you and Jeff making a lot of the records in the beginning at? Were you guys
either at Jeff's apartment or in my mama's basement? And like I said, we had to play gospel every time, pre anything. So she wasn't having it. But Jeff had an apartment, and sometimes we could go there, but you really couldn't bang too loud. Then we go over my mom's house and we bang out all types of shit, members of the house, you know, everybody came in my mother's basement. We down there lifting weights and fucking with cars in the driveway.
Yeah, that was the first you all record, the members of the house, right? The Yolanda. Yolanda. I always mix the first one.
I can't say what the first thing.
Yeah, wasn't it Yolanda Give Me the Night, or what was it?
Yeah, Yolanda. Living for the Night.
Yeah, Living for the Night.
But the real beginning to You Are, to me, was on Final Cut with that CD Dimitri had. If you read the liner credits, Jeff thanks everybody, and he said, "You know who you are," and it's spelled with a U and an R. Yeah, we hit it off so good working on that record. To me, that's the beginning of You Are.
Because you hear it in some of the X101 that there's a crossover between the tracks.
Yeah, it's truly me and Jeff together. You know, Jeff would do a lot of tracks on his own. I would do a lot of tracks on my own. But when we came together, it was kind of unique, and it had a particular sound, and we decided to call that, you know, You Are.
Did you guys both produce the Yolanda record? Because that was like a really stark transition between that and then, say, the Sonic EP, which was
definitely
more the first.
We produced that. And
actually, when the Sonic EP came out, my brother was playing in the UK, and he bought that record back. We thought it was British because it was just the white label on the one side with the text on the other.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, this is one of these Sheffield records. Then we figured it out because I think Jeff sent us a record, that record after it came in the mail, like, oh, that's the fucking Detroit shit.
Me and Jeff was the first, even before Submerge, me and Jeff did all the shipping. I did the shipping. Rob Hood would do, like, all the interactions between the stores or whatever, and
he did the design on the labels.
I can't remember that dude's name, but he was a friend of Jeff's. He did some of the artwork. Gary Arnett, the guy that made in Detroit, he's the one that took the UR logo and made it a little more stronger looking and stuff. And Gary did that. I forget, Jeff would know that guy's name that did some of the early artwork. And then later, Hawk came in, you know, because Hawk was working with Derek and all them.
What did Hawk do on you? I don't even know.
Hawk we would make these postcards and stuff. And Hawk would do like he's a photographer too. And Hawk would do the photography and we liked all that shit. Oh, I remember what Abdul did. He painted the whole top of Submerge.
Okay.
The old Submerge.
Okay.
He just went and did a whole, like a fucking, what they call them, fresco. His shit was all at the top.
Oh, damn.
It was great. That was like some super inspirational shit. And he also did like parties. He spray paint shit for people, man, and do his thing.
Yeah, he's done some legendary record covers, man, for sure.
Yeah. But Abdul was just also part of the scene. You know, Hawk danced his ass off too. I mean, if you put the needle on the record, the minute you put it on until you take it off, he's dancing. Him and Cornelius, they like that. They get out there and get at it. Corn gets at it.
You never thought to DJ?
No, because I saw Jeff, John Collins, Ken Collier, Stacey Hale. I couldn't. They was way advanced. And I knew DJing was an art.
I think you're like the only Detroit techno producer that's not a DJ, right? Is there anybody else?
It should be more of them that don't DJ. That's all I'm saying.
Wow.
Everybody can't do it. It's an art to it. It's an art form. People should respect it and stay in their fucking lane, because just because it's there don't mean you can necessarily excel at it.
Yeah.
Some people that got the ear for it, the knowledge, and the timing. You know?
I think in this day and age, it's quite easy, very easy to DJ and become a DJ real quick. Back in the day, it took years to get that technical skill, because you had to have a technical skill with these turntables and the feel of it. And it wasn't for everybody, and people would try it and then they would just get out of it in a year because they knew they couldn't do it, or they didn't have the patience. You had to have a lot of patience to DJ back in the day.
I remember goofing around with Jeff's turntables one day, and I just put the phones on, and I tried to blend a record, and this shit almost made me dizzy with the 2 beats in my head. I was like, this ain't for me. I respect the art of it. And I think by, being a very good friend and a compadre of Jeff Mills, and then, actually seeing Ken Collier in action and John Collins and, like I said, Stacey Hale, DJ Scent, Serena, Tyler, Delano, them guys, I mean, they can DJ. You know what I'm saying? And Mike Clark, my boy Mike hooked all of us up. Guys, they live, breathe, and sleep records. And, I was playing baseball, I'm racing cars, I'm hustling, I'm playing sessions. I respected the art of DJing just like I respect a recording engineer or a mastering engineer or a cutting engineer. These are all different, like we was talking about Dietrich.
Yeah.
These are all different aspects of audio engineering.
Yeah.
And they're all separate. And
Dietrich, we were saying very good things about you. Mr. Schoeneman, who does a lot of the mastering for Mike's stuff now, who used to be a business partner of mine, is a very dear friend, and I'm very happy that there's that connection.
Dietrich picked up the torch
a good dude.
After Ron Murphy passed. And Dietrich, thank you a lot. We love you, man. Even our UPS man, when me and Jeff was first cranking, he, because he lifted all these records. He's like, what the fuck you guys got in these damn boxes? He's like, records. He's like, people still buy this shit.
In the 90s on CDs, I'm like,
man. And we
up, right?
Pumping out these records. And my man is like, God damn, I hate coming over here, but it was, he got him in that truck and got him wherever the fuck they was going. So Travis, that was his name, Mr. Travis. Good dude, he lift them boxes, man. So it's, like I said, Kenny, Andy Garcia, Mike Archer, Mr. Joe Archer, Mr. Gantz down in Dixie,
We didn't even have, we had no internet back then. We had no real magazines pushing it, just the fanzines, you know, had this on the one shop.
Yeah.
Robert's Global Techno.
What was that other lady? Money Penny?
Yeah,
Remember
Money Penny, Brand X.
Yeah, Brand X.
Woody McBride did the Disco Family Plan, and that was how we all found out about the music. I mean, there was some British press that was pushing this stuff, but or there was the German front page. Front page was probably really good if you spoke German and you could read it, right? But you couldn't read this shit back in the day.
Jürgen was that Jürgen Larman?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember him. Big Jürgen, man.
But it was also DIY, man. It was so much fun back in the day.
You know,
I still have fun with it all. But I still love it to death. But that was just special times, man.
It was, man. It was magic shit, man. And you know, Kreuzberg, Germany, and they got good beer over there. That's what I like, man. That shit got a little nip in it, you know. Not nothing like a 40, but you know, it's close. It's in the ball game. You know,
it's like people don't even realize, like back in the day, like if you followed a label, you couldn't go online to find the catalogs. So there were probably records you didn't know, and then you'd find that record and you'd be like, oh shit, I never saw this one before.
Yeah.
But now everything you can easily find out about anything with the touch of the keyboard, right? You know?
It
was really exciting back then, man. The record thing was definitely an amazing time.
It was. And who knows, man. I think for the future, these kids is gonna figure out some shit and it's gonna be just as exciting. Everybody always figures out something to keep it moving. So have faith in that, man. I got faith in these young people.
We want a lot of new music from you. We're still waiting for the next stuff.
Well, I've been building buildings and raising grandkids and cutting grass and, you know, trying to make some new producers like we always do. You know, it's still a lot of talent here in the city. And I'm kind of proud of what me and YG and Cornelius is doing as Maroon Creative Group. That's our name. Dimitri's a part of it. And we do the Detroit-Berlin exchange. You know, love making music. I love making music.
I know you were jamming out before, and that was great. That was amazing just watching you. There's not, you know, in techno, there's not many people that can play the keyboards.
Well, my man Gerald Mitchell out there, Gerald and some of the guys, after watching them for so many years, him and John Dixon and people like that.
I mean, I guess it's also why you don't need to DJ when you can play like that, because most people that make techno don't know how to play. We're all like, program is, right?
Well,
the difference.
Yeah, it's all in strength. I mean, musicians have to learn to minimalize themselves to make a good dance track. You know, good person to study is James Brown. You know, he had master musicians in the band, but the parts they played was extremely simple. And same as George Clinton. These guys don't get enough respect as arrangers and producers. George had Michael Hampton. I mean, you got Bernie Worrell. They can play their ass off. But when they got in the groove, once they get in the groove, they play their part. And the machines is the same way. A lot of these machines got a lot of potential. But to get the dance groove, the machine got to be in the groove and just play its fucking part. It can't do everything it's possible can do. It got to do what the fuck it's supposed to do. And some of the machines can't do it. They got too much shit in them. You know, it's just shit flying everywhere. You can't really find the groove in the motherfucker because it got too many options. You know, a musician, you know, your band leader could say, hey, man, I know you can solo your ass off, but we don't need a solo right here, motherfucker. I'm about to sing this song, and you about to play this fucking part and get in the pocket. They call it getting in the pocket. And you get your ass in the pocket and play. And then when they tell you, you can turn your shit loose. But until then, you stay in the pocket. The machines is similar. You have to keep them in the pocket. The machine don't run you. You run the fucking machine. You know, the machine, it don't have a brain or a heart or none of that shit. It got a lot of souls in it, though, because of the people that made it. They put a lot of energy in it. But the machine can only do what it's programmed to do. And if you...
I mean, sometimes, people get too much credit for inventing stuff in techno, but it's like actually it was some dude in Japan that made that 303.
Come on.
Right,
Or it's a mistake. Most of the best shit is a mistake after a big thing of beer, and you go, damn, that shit sounds pretty good. What you think? Yeah, it sounds good to me too. Everybody out there, got a little buzz and shit. If you got a buzz and shit sound good and feel good, run it. Fuck it, man. What you gonna do? Get spanked if it don't sell? Who gives a fuck if it don't sell?
I mean, the guy that invented the 909 kick, nobody's mentioned his name. I don't even know his name.
Yeah. We just missed meeting the guy that made the 808. I think he did the 808 and the 303 or something. We just missed him in Japan. We really wanted to thank him personally. I could do it in this interview. All rolling musical instruments of that time made some bad shit. And furthermore, they're here in Detroit, and they're working with these kids via the UMA. And I'm very proud of Matt and the rolling team. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of all these product developers. My boy Tatsuya at Corework for making the Voca. I'm glad all you product manufacturers made some affordable shit, because I ain't never met no super rich motherfuckers that make dance music. It's always regular folks. And you got to make shit that people can afford. And this is what's driving the music forward. Honest dialogue. Hey, I know the synths didn't sell for 30 years and you guys want to make a super synth and shit and get paid off. Nah, make a bunch of little bitty shit and people will use it. Can't count on a $6,000, $7,000 keyboard or any of that shit. It's common folks that make dance music. They ain't got shit to be happy for but the weekend. Just remember that shit. They don't go on vacations and climb mountains and shit. They go to some dingy ass club where Adam got to play and hopefully get them up off their ass and get them moving so they can have a life, man. So don't make all that rich boy shit. Rich boys don't make dance music. Regular folks do. And rich boys have parties that cost $300 to get in. Regular folks got parties that cost $20 or $30 or $10 or fuck it, it's free. That's where the funk is. That other shit is polished up bullshit.
Long live the underground resistance.
That's it, brother. That's it.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Amazing. Awesome.
Sonic Room Podcast.